I've been seeing a lot of people talk about Power Rangers recently, so I thought, why not just share one of my favorite fights? This one comes from one of my favorites, Mystic Force. To sum it up, it's pretty much the Harry Potter season of the Disney era. Context, the Rangers lost their powers after one of the main series antagonists, Imperius, makes a wish that the Rangers never became Rangers. And after talking to one of their biggest ops, Korag, he takes them to a desert that has a doorway to the Tribunal of Magic, which governs magic across the dimensions and can undo the wish. After walking in the desert for a while, some dead soldiers pop up and demand that they leave, as each soldier has attempted to reach the tribunal and failed, so now they have to act as guards. The Rangers respond with a fuck that and charge in a morphed, and I'm not gonna lie, at the start, they were getting their asses handed to them, but after they catch their second win, they start putting belt to ass. All five was cool, but I want to focus on Nick right now because he does the most stupid and unnecessary, but at the same time badass combo I have ever seen. So he does a round off and then goes into two front kicks that get blocked. He then decides to do a spinning back kick while jumping, and that was nowhere close to hitting. I don't even know why this guy is trying to dodge. He is nowhere near him. After he lands, he goes in for another kick, and this time, having some momentum, goes in for another spinning front kick this time, and at least gets the guy to block this time. He's in the range, at least. That's an improvement. Then, after going 0-2, he locks in and swivels on his knee into a sweep that sends this motherfucker flying. I definitely recommend watching the full fight because it's underrated in my opinion, and so is Mystic Force as a whole. Give it a watch if you haven't. Death Battle hate has gotta stop, and it's at a point where it's coming off as forced. Before I go deeper, I just want to say, no, I don't think Death Battle is always right. There's a handful of episodes that have pissed me off. Sonic vs. Flash, Mario vs. Sonic 2, Zora vs. Urza, and so many others. After this Blade vs. Buffy episode, I'm seeing a lot more people showing a lot of hate towards Death Battle. And I'm not talking about debunkers or anyone that disagrees with an outcome of an episode, but people who just say, I'm done supporting them entirely, and neither should you. I keep going back to the outrage of Goku vs. Superman, choose whichever one, and I always have the same thing to say when it comes to people that rage about these episodes. The character you like more didn't win. You are allowed to be upset about that, and if they missed out on some information that could have given that character an edge, go ahead and call that out. But at the same time, you need to remember, it's not that deep. Death Battle isn't always right, and even then, you shouldn't treat it as fact. Speaking of Goku vs. Superman, remember what they said?
It does call into question what we're doing. How can people agree with what we take as fact when fiction relies on interpretation? Are we stripping characters of their importance by simplifying them to contestants in a vacuum of violence? And if so, then what's the point?
Because it's fun, Wiz! Damn it, man! There's more than one way to appreciate something!
That's the kind of mentality you should have when you're watching these episodes. Heck, I sometimes use Death Battle and power scaling arguments too, but I just look for the feats in the analysis and then look at the comic, manga, or TV show because they can at times miss context for certain feats. Death Battle is just representation of the team's opinion. It's not fact. If someone has an opinion that offends you so much, simply ignore it and the person who says that opinion. You don't need to get into long rants online about Death Battle. That's all. If there's one kind of character dynamic that I love in any form of media to see, is what I like to call a rage-bait friendship. It's the kind of friendship where the characters deadass look like they hate each other, but behind closed doors you know they're just chilling. This is always fun to see because we all have that one friend that will say something to intentionally piss you off most of the time you two talk, and vice versa, but at the end of the day, you two are still boys. Not to mention that this type of dynamic will both have some of the funniest and best written moments in the series, even if it's a small moment, like Zoro locking in after Sanji calls him dead weight. That always had me rolling every time I watch it. And it gets better in action series, like when I see Zoro and Sanji, Natsu and Gajeel, Punisher and Daredevil lock in, it always gets me hyped, because when push comes to shove, these duels will go on and do some shit that you know they never practiced. And overall, the dynamic always has some of the best brother or sisterhood type of relationships, and sometimes even having a better dynamic than the actual siblings in the same series. Well, that's just my thoughts. What's your favorite pair with this kind of dynamic?